Have you ever had one of those days where everything just feels off? You wake up late. Your phone's already buzzing with a dozen notifications. Traffic is worse than usual. Someone cuts you off, and without thinking, you mutter something under your breath you wouldn't say at church. You finally get to work or school, and everything that can go wrong does. By the time you're home, all you want is to be left alone. But then, in the quiet, something strange happens. You feel this weight in your chest, an invisible fog, not just tiredness, but like your spirit's been drained. Like you've been at war, but didn't know it. Here's the thing most Christians don't realize: that off feeling, those emotions you brushed off as a bad day, might actually be something much deeper. And what if I told you that, without knowing it, you may have spent the whole day worshipping, but not God? What if demons love a certain kind of worship that's happening in homes, churches, and hearts every single day, and we don't even see it? Stay with me, because today we're going to uncover one of the devil's most successful deceptions. A type of worship that doesn't look evil, doesn't feel demonic, but it's quietly stealing glory from God and feeding darkness. Before we go on, if you've ever felt spiritually dry and couldn't explain why, if you've felt like you love God but still feel distant from Him, then please hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what God might want to show you today. Now, let's go back to that long, draining day. There's a man in the Bible who had a very similar experience. Elijah. You know, the mighty prophet who called fire down from heaven. The same man who stood against 450 prophets of Baal and saw God show up in fire. But do you remember what happened right after? Elijah ran. He collapsed in fear and exhaustion under a tree and said to God, "I have had enough, Lord. Take my life." How does a man go from spiritual victory to total defeat in a single day? Because spiritual fatigue isn't about how much we do. It's about who we're giving our attention, our trust, and our emotions to. And that, my friend, is where this secret worship begins. The enemy isn't just trying to get you to sin. He's trying to hijack your adoration. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What gets most of your emotional energy? Your fear, your frustration, your scrolling on social media, your anger at how the world is falling apart. You see, worship isn't just singing in church. It's whatever we give our attention, emotion, and affection to. And the devil is clever. He doesn't show up with horns and fire. He shows up in distractions, in toxic thoughts. In those slow, subtle ways we start agreeing with hopelessness instead of God's promises. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Indeed, the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts." That's what this secret worship looks like. It's when we feed bitterness and starve grace, when we play victim instead of trusting God's sovereignty. It's when we spend more time replaying what someone did to us than praying through what Jesus already did for us. Let that sink in, because demons don't need us to bow to statues. They just need us to stop bowing to the King. And now comes the twist. Sometimes the thing that makes us feel strong is actually what's weakening us. When you hold on to that grudge because you think it protects you. When you replay that offense over and over because it feels like justice. That's not power. That's bondage disguised as control. And it's worship. You're giving your mind, your time, and your emotion to it. Jesus said in Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other." So who is really getting your service? When we constantly dwell on fear, negativity, and offense, we're not just being human, We're offering a throne to something else, and the spiritual world is not neutral. If Jesus isn't the center, something else will be. Now pause for a moment. Look back at your week. Where did your thoughts go the most? What did you talk about, obsess over, get mad at, stress about? This isn't condemnation, it's clarity. Because if the devil can't make you bad, he'll just make you distracted. And every distraction becomes an altar. I want you to really think about that. What altars have you unintentionally built in your heart this week? Comment below with the words, "Lord, take back my worship." It's a declaration that you're not giving the enemy another second of your attention, your emotion, or your authority. If this is already hitting home, write it down below, and let's take this step together. And I want to ask you, if you feel this kind of worship might be hiding in your life, and you're ready to break it, would you comment, "No more hidden altars"? We'll pray over every comment and trust that God is shifting hearts today. But now comes the real question. If this kind of worship is so subtle, so emotional, and so easy to miss, how can we recognize it before it consumes us? And what's the most common way even faithful Christians unknowingly fuel demonic delight? What's the most spiritual sounding trap that leads us straight into secret surrender? Let's talk about it. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones that wear a mask of righteousness? Think about it. Satan didn't show up in the garden with a red pitchfork. He came as a voice of reason, whispering, "Did God really say?" He doesn't need to deny God outright. He just needs you to doubt him subtly. And one of the enemy's favorite tricks, the worship demons love, is this worshipping our pain. Now hold on, I know that might sound strange, but stay with me. Have you ever gone through something so painful, so unfair, that it becomes the lens you see everything through? It colors how you see people, how you see yourself, even how you see God. It becomes your identity, and before long your pain becomes your compass. You start making decisions not based on truth, but based on your trauma. And here's the hidden danger: whatever leads you, owns you. So if your pain leads you, guess what's getting your worship? Let me ask you gently, have you spent more time reliving your wounds than renewing your mind in the Word? Do you find comfort in your pain more than in God's promises? The enemy loves this kind of worship because it looks honest, it feels justified, and it always ends with you feeling like a victim. But the cross didn't just save us from hell, it freed us from living like hell is still in us. That's why Jesus said in Luke 9:23, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." You can't carry both your cross and your grudge. One will fall. It's time to choose. C.S. Lewis once wrote in The Problem of Pain, "God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pain. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." Pain was never meant to be your God. It was meant to push you toward God. But when we hold it like a crown, when we rehearse it like a song, it becomes a throne we didn't even mean to build. And demons worship at that altar too. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman, we'll call her Maya. She grew up in church, knew the verses, loved worship nights. But something shifted after her father abandoned their family. Maya still sang the songs, but her heart started closing up, slowly. She never yelled at God. She never left the church. But quietly, she began to let her pain define everything. Every sermon felt personal. Every challenge felt threatening. Every compliment felt fake. Eventually, Maya realized something chilling. She had built a sanctuary for her suffering, and she visited it every day. That's when she said, "I stopped praying to God. I started praying from my pain." And it hit her. She wasn't surrendering her wounds. She was worshipping them. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you're there right now. Friend, I need you to hear this. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You are not the pain you've carried. You are not the betrayal you survived. You are not the fear that keeps knocking. You are God's child. But the enemy knows, if he can get you to sit in sorrow long enough, you'll stop standing in truth. And that is when this secret worship turns deadly. Because if we don't break the altars we build to our pain, they will slowly reshape our view of God. And you know what happens next. We start doubting his goodness. We start resenting his timing. We start accusing him of being distant. But the whole time, he's been right beside us, just not the center anymore. And that brings us to the core question: who has the throne in your heart when you're hurting? Is it your past, your bitterness, your fear, or is it Jesus? If this is speaking to your heart, I want you to pause right now. Yes, right now. And comment, Jesus, take the throne. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. This is a moment between you and God, and if you've ever felt stuck in a loop of pain, but you want out, write in the comments, no more altars to my wounds. We're standing with you. This community will pray with you. You are not alone in this. Now here's the twist. The enemy doesn't just want your worship. He wants your identity. Because once you believe that you are your pain, or you are your anxiety, or you are your failure, you stop fighting. You stop hoping. You stop believing that Jesus actually came to set captives free. But freedom doesn't start with feeling better. It starts with bowing better. And that's the truth demons hate the most. Because when a child of God begins to recognize where their heart has been bowing and then recenters their worship on Christ, every dark throne begins to crack. The fog lifts, the fire returns, and the enemy's grip loosens, because now your worship is costing him something. So how do we make this shift? How do we start giving God true worship? Not just songs and Sundays, but a life that's aligned. And how do we tear down these hidden altars that have taken root in our minds and emotions? There's a surprising pattern in Scripture, and Jesus shows us exactly what to do when demonic forces try to hijack your worship. But it's not in a battle scene, it's in a wilderness. And what he did there changed everything. Let's go to the wilderness. Jesus had just been baptized. Heaven opened. The Spirit descended like a dove. The Father declared, "This is my Son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased." But what happens next? Matthew 4 tells us, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil." Wait, he just had this powerful spiritual high, and the very next step is confrontation with darkness. Yes, because what the devil fears most is a believer who knows who they are before the trial starts. And Satan's first goal, to shift Jesus' worship. If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Throw yourself down. Bow down and worship me, and I will give you all this. 3 temptations, 3 emotional pulls, provision, safety, power. But Jesus didn't respond emotionally. He responded with truth. It is written. 3 words that shattered Satan's every scheme. Why? Because worship isn't just about singing. It's about surrendering to truth even when you're hungry, hurting, or alone. And that's the worship demons fear. The kind that doesn't need music or comfort or applause. The kind that lifts its hands even when they're trembling. The kind that says, "I choose you, God," even when nothing makes sense. Friend, can I tell you something you might not hear often enough? The moment you resist the temptation to feed your fear and instead feed your faith, that is warfare. The moment you choose to forgive when every voice in your head says, "They don't deserve it," That is worship. The moment you stop rehearsing the offense and start declaring the promises of God, you are pulling down demonic altars brick by brick. C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, said, "The moment you have a self at all, there is the possibility of putting yourself first, wanting to be the center, wanting to be God." That was the sin of Satan, and that was the sin he taught the human race. And that is why surrender is the greatest kind of worship. Because when you surrender, you dethrone self and enthrone Christ. So how do we walk in this? Let me give you something practical. 3 steps. Not magical, but deeply spiritual. 1. Examine the altar. What in your life has received more emotional energy than God? Your phone, a toxic relationship, bitterness, news headlines, self-pity. Ask the Holy Spirit to show you. Be honest. You can't heal what you won't face. 2. Tear it down with truth for every lie you've believed. Find a verse that declares the opposite. If you've been saying, "I'm not enough," declare Philippians 4:13. "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." If you've felt forgotten, declare Isaiah 49:16. "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." A truth isn't just information, it's demolition. 3. Rebuild the throne every day, every moment. Make space in your heart for Jesus to be center. Start your day with worship, even if it's one song. Pause and pray before reacting to situations. Speak to your emotions like David did. "Bless the Lord, O my soul." Don't let your feelings run your faith. Let your faith retrain your feelings. And if this is resonating with you, pause and comment right now, "Jesus, you have the throne." Make it a declaration. Let it be written. Let the enemy see it. And if you've realized you've been giving secret worship, whether to fear, pain, or distraction, write this in the comments. No more worship in the wrong direction. We will pray with you. We will stand beside you. You're not exposed. You're being restored. Listen, I know this message might be hard to hear. It's easier to stay numb, to blame the world, to sit in our emotions and call it processing. But the cross didn't call us to comfort. It called us to resurrection. And resurrection only comes after surrender. So if you've been wary, if you've felt off, maybe it's not just stress. Maybe it's spiritual. Maybe it's time to stop feeding what's feeding on you. The enemy doesn't need you to bow to him. He just needs you to bow to anything but God. Let's take it back. Let's tear down every hidden altar. Let's silence every whisper that doesn't sound like heaven. Let's reclaim our hearts, our minds, our worship. Because when Jesus takes the throne again, the atmosphere changes. Joy returns, peace floods, and demons run. So I leave you with this final question. What's on the throne of your heart right now? Not yesterday, not what you hope for tomorrow, but in this very moment. Let's not just be believers. Let's be worshippers, with eyes wide open, hearts set free, and lives that scream, "Jesus is Lord." If this spoke to you, don't scroll away. Comment your declaration, and then share this with someone who needs their worship realigned. This could be their freedom too. And if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because at LWN we're not just watching videos, we're walking in truth. Together, God bless you, and keep worshipping with your whole life. This next video is handpicked just for you. YouTube knows you love it. Or dive into this C.S. Lewis playlist for even deeper wisdom.